Finesse jigs have got popular because so many people are fishing high-pressured lakes, a lot of angling pressure on them, and in clear water scenarios, you need to downsize or go to lighter line. We actually came out with a finesse jig. We got it available in some really cool colors that match any water situation you're going to get into. But I recommend the natural colors when you do get into that clear water because they will get you more bites. We also have tournaments once in a while where we get into where we got the water willow, the shallow grass, milfoil, places where the bass get in a mood where they really don't want a bait vertically dropping down on top of them. They want something horizontal coming through the water column, and the only way you're going to catch those fish and get the bait in and out is with a swimming type motion of a jig. So we come out with a swim jig. We also have a Hackney version of this that's actually got a stronger hook in it for when you really need to gear up. But swim jigs have become very, very popular, and if you got the type of cover where you really can't get a spinner bait through or get a square bill crankbait through, you might try swimming a jig through those, and the swim jig is the way to go. The other thing we've come out with that's been very popular the last few years are the shaky head jigs, and we got the football jigs for those of you that like to use a grub or skirt them yourself. But the shaky head's been very, very popular, so we've got heads for those that you can rig up with your worms, whatever. And the bladed jigs have also become very popular. And talk about a bait that's helped me out a bunch in a pinch is the Pure Poison. This is a dynamite big fish bait, puts a tremendous amount of vibration out in the water, and you can rig it several different ways. You can leave it the way it is, or you can put the new Rage Grub on behind it, or you can put the 4.5-inch Shadowlicious behind it. You got a dynamite big fish bait here. You need to get you some Pure Poisons. But the bottom line is, if you want to be totally prepared for all fishing scenarios, you need to get a lot of different jigs to match the situation, and that way you're going to not only get more bites, but you're going to hook and land a higher percentage of fish. And you don't need to look anywhere else than Strike King. What do you put on behind these jigs when you're flipping and pitching and casting them? Well, we've got a few options, and these options are dynamite. These Rage chunks, without a doubt, are my #1 choice. For a football jig, that goes on behind my bait. For my regular Premier Pro model, that goes on behind my bait if the water's warm. You can see how nice it fits right there. It's got the proper length to where you don't have to cut it off or do anything. You just slide it on, and you got the perfect trailer right there. But the Rage chunk has got so much action, do not rely on it in cold water. And by cold water, anytime I get out there and the water temperature is 60 degrees or colder, I do not want to use this as a trailer. I want to use something like the KVD Perfect Plastic Chunk, because it has no action as the bait's falling. And when it does hit the bottom, the legs will just kind of stand up and teeter a little bit. Very subtle action, and that's what you want in the cold water. So that's a great, great trailer. The other trailer that a lot of people take for granted is the Rodent. This is a bait that also has a subtle action that you can thread on when you want to give more bulk to the bait and give it a totally different action. And of course, we've got it in 2 different sizes. And the 3-inch Rodent works very, very well with some of the finesse jigs like the Bitsy Flip to give it that small profile. And then if you want to gear up and give your jig obviously a bigger profile, you can use the regular Rage Craw, or we also make this in something called the Rage Lobster. And when I get to those big fish lakes like Lake Amistad, Lake Falcon, and Lake Toho, I'm going to go with the lobster rather than the regular craw because it is such a big profile, and it'll get you some of those added big fish strikes. So kind of match your trailer up not only to the situation that you're in with your jig and the cover you're penetrating, but also pay attention to the water temperature. And for me, color plays a very, very important role. So if there's a reason for me to use black and blue, I'm going to have something that matches that jig. Either blue, bright blue, one of those type trailers that match up. So I'm not a big person as far as contrasting colors. In other words, I don't want a black jig with a brown chunk or anything like that that's cut in half color-wise. So I want it all uniform, and that's why we make this stuff in so many different colors to match the situation. And I think you try some of our trailers on your jigs, you'll be very, very impressed with them.